in 2016, 1st December 2016. And last 7 years, about almost 7 years journey is completed. We are in the 8th year. Act was originally evolving to the next level, and therefore till so far we have got a lot of judgments and the lot of things which were not clear. The Honorable Supreme Court is kind enough to clarify a lot of aspects on that. Honorable NCLT also has clarified a number of aspects on number of various dichotomy wherever it was. And accordingly, now the situation is such that we have got quite a good clarity on the various sections of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. IBBI is also equally a robust institute. Let me mention that because they are so much agile in various aspects. They look into that wherever there is a dichotomy or wherever there are problems faced by the IPs or the NCLT or per se the economy as a whole. They come out with various circulars, various guidelines, and wherever required through an act, enactment of the act, they have also promulgated various new sections, or they have tried to see to it that ultimately the economy should not be suffered only because of the certain rigidity in these sections. So now the IBC, I would like to say, is become from a infant to a child, or it is now going in the adolescence also in some time also. So we as a professionals of insolvency professional, we have also come to know a lot of aspects since last couple of years. We have come to know that there are so many problems we were facing at that point of time, but nowadays we also have got a lot of clarities on the various aspects of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. Coming back to my own topic, which is saying that my basic topic is journey from filing of application with NCLT till the issuance of Information Memorandum. So I would like to cover the sections mainly 7 to the 28 or 29. These are the sections which I would like to cover broadly, along with the regulations wherever it is required, and wherever required, the whatever the judgments which we have got, we try to just cover that and try to understand from that viewpoint that what is happening in the IBC. You being the insolvency professionals are also facing a lot of problems, and you are also getting a lot of inquiries as that whether we should go for IBC or not. That first question comes. If we have to go for that, under which section we have to go, what way we have to go, a lot of companies are not aware about it. In one way, yes, the original SICA Act was there, because I used to practice before the BIFR and AIFR. I know that there was no timeline decided. So my doctoral thesis was also covering the same aspect, that any act which is being taken place should have a specific timeline, and IBC has come out with a timeline. That is number one, which is also considered one of the best reform that the government has taken place. More so, the second thing what they decided is that within that timeline, either the second thing that is taken place is that SICA Act does not have a power to decide about that. They say, for example, any kind of relief or concession that anybody is asked for, SICA Act was only a recommendatory power. They did not have a final power to decide about it. IBC, we are having a much more better prospects in that way. We have a power to decide about that reliefs and concessions. Once the NCLT passes, it takes a finality and it cannot be challenged, because it is also having a ostensible clause stating that notwithstanding anything contained in another law. So section 238 is also very clear, and accordingly nowadays people are having a very much sign relief, and people are taking care of in the IBC, try to just resolve their company and try to take the companies under the liquidation on a going concern basis, wherein the NCLT has a power to give the reliefs and concessions. So these are the two main aspects wherein I would like to say that IBC is much better than the SICA Act. Now, coming back to my own topic, where I would like to state that the journey from filing of application to the filing of the application to our process, I would like to just start with my screen sharing, and at the same point of time, I would like to state that I'm sure that my screen is visible. So when we talk about the application can be, see, it is decided in the in definitions. I'm not touching that part. I'm directly going for filing of application with Honorable NCLT, adjudication by NCLT and declaration of moratorium, CIRP by RP, IRP and RP, and information memorandum. These are the aspects which I'm supposed to deal with. Let me just start with that. Application can be filed either by, because as you are aware nowadays, that under Section 7, financial creditors can file. Under Section 9, operational creditor, 8 and 9 are combined section, which I would like to mention, that corporate debtor can file under Section 10. Now, let's try to understand that as an IP, whether am I supposed to look at the application? I believe that if you can look into, is much better. At least you should have a copy of that while you are just giving your consent as a proposed RP. If you look into that particular application, you will also find out if any kind of the faults are there, you can suggest to the particular financial creditor. Now, let's try to understand the financial creditors when he is filing the application. First question comes in the picture. What is the financial debt? I'm sure that Section 5 defines financial debt. I'm not covering, but it has to have a time value of money. The first thing. There has to be an agreement between the lender and the borrower. If there is no agreement, whether it is sustainable or not, that we will discuss later on. After the limit has been increased by the Honorable NCLT, now the minimum debt should be at least of 1 crore. Minimum default amount should be 1 crore. Let me put it like this. Debt should not be barred by limitation. That cannot be a limitation, should not be. See, Limitation Act is also very clear. You should not have a bar by limitation act, very clearly decided by in various this Kotak Mahindra versus India Specialty Fats Limited is decided also. I'll take also later on. Record of default in the information memorandum utilities are required to be submitted along with the application. So these are the basic facts which we need to look into. Along with that, we have to also look at the FC whenever he's filing its application. Financial creditor has to also give a name of the proposed resolution professional. So your consent is required along with that. If it is not given, then also the application cannot be taken care of by the educating authority. While giving the application, two things which we need to understand. A resolution professional should not have any kind of a disciplinary action against him. Number one, even the show cause notice is issued against him, you have no power to give your consent to become a RP. And second thing which you need to understand is that your authorization for for assignment AFA should be there in place. If AFA is not there in place, you need to get it first of all confirm AFA, and then only you have a right to, you can give your consent. Otherwise, what happens? Educating authority may dismiss the application only on this ground. So we as a insolvency professional are required to take care of these two aspects very clearly, that when financial creditor is filing an application, that application should be along with a consent by the prospective resolution professional, who should not, no disciplinary action should have been taken against him. That is to say, even the show cause notice should have been issued by IBBI to him in any case. If it is issued, you cannot give your consent, number one. And number two, that your AFA should be in place at the time of filing the application. Now, coming back to the next aspects which I would like to mention. What are the situations that at a point of time, the debatable issues which are coming under the page? Section 7, we say that company at a point of time, the people are just arguing that company is solvent and therefore the default is only a temporary nature. Therefore, there cannot be any action taken against the company. Yes, Vidarbha Industries versus Axis Bank, it was taken care of by that Section 7.5 is very clear. There, the adjudicating authority has a power to decide whether to admit or not to admit. It is at their discretionary. While in operational creditor, no discretion is given. Only in case of the financial creditor, adjudicating authority has a power to decide. However, Supreme Court also again the said judgment is now not fully operational, but case to case, they are just taking care of it. I'm just explaining that because this kind of the judgments have taken place in past. People were taking the shelter of this judgment, but nowadays it is not, it is reverse also. So we cannot take that plea. Means the CD cannot take a plea. Coming back to the next aspect, the dispute over amount of default. If there's a dispute on the amount of default, he says that I have only 1 crore 30 lakhs is default, and he has given 2 crore rupees default. Can it be admitted or not? Answer says it is required to be admitted. The adjudicating authority is not required to see whether the default amount is correct or not. Only there has to be default, and it should be of more than 1 crore. That is the situation. Then the next aspect is that, as I said, the insolvency professional's name along with his consent in Form 2 is required to be given. So when we are giving the consent in Form 2, and as I said that on the date of the application, your AFA should be valid. You should not have been given any so-cause notice by the IBBI. If these conditions are applied, then you can give Form 2. Again, on the date of the judgment also, when the Section 7 application goes for another 2 months or 3 months, on the date of the admission also, your AFA should be valid. Now, when we talk about AFA validation, as you are aware that IBBI has come out with a clear-cut notes that before the expiry of the 15 days of the AFA, you have a right to again go for the purpose of renewal of that. So if your AFA is, say, for example, today, you are on 18th, and if it is going to be completed by, say, 2nd of January, today you can go for renewal. Again, that can be, and there are also clear-cut mentions now within 21 days, if they cannot renew, it is automatically considered to be renewed. So these kind of the systems that they have mentioned, so there is no question. If they normally IBBI validates your AFA within the time, however, at a point of time, if it is not there, the regulations are very clear on that. So your AFA should be valid on the date of filing the application as well as on the date of adjudication, means admission of the date. Then the next question comes in the picture when we talk about the financial creditors. A question arises when the settlement or compromise proposal is given by the CD. Is it a valid ground for rejecting the application? Answer says no. NCLT Delhi has clearly given the judgment in the case of PNB versus Dynamic Shells India Private Limited that the settlement or compromise proposal is not a ground for rejecting the application. Because otherwise, every CD will go for the purpose of submitting their compromise or settlement proposal, and whereby the chances are there you may not be having any things which will be taken care of till the 3-6 months. You have a right to give that, let it take place. If that settlement takes place either before the admission of the day application, they come and withdraw the application, they have a right to do. If it is not taking place, then they can go under Section 12A also after the admission of that. So in that eventuality, you cannot take a plea that my compromise proposal is there and therefore this should be rejected. So this kind of the judgments have already taken place. Second question comes in the picture that at a point of time, the people are saying that my application is pending before the DRT, and or surface actions have already been taken, or it is I'm already there before some other forum, civil courts, for the purpose of this, and therefore no action should be taken against me. Answer says no. The act now, after taking a lot of judgments, now it is very clear position of the law that even if it is pending before any other forum, this application is a separate proceedings, and when there is a separate proceedings, it is a clear-cut judgment that this adjudicating authority has a right to admit your application, even if other forum the applications are going on. So that should not be a ground before any other forum. Then at a point of time, people are saying that they are taking a ground that there are joint lenders and everyone should come along with that. There are 5 lenders in one particular CD and everyone should file an application. Answer says no, it is not required. Anyone can file. If you have a default having more than 1 crore, then anyone can come and file. There is no requirement that everyone has to file. So this is the position of the act is very clear. Now the second question come in the picture, that when there is a agreement is made with the trustee by the joint lenders. Let me put it like that. There is a trustee which is taking place. Whether the application can be made by a lender, only one lender? Answer says no, lender. If the trustee agreement says that if the trust has to file, trusteeship has to file the application, then only one lender or even all the lenders put together cannot file the application, or the trusteeship should have filed the application. This position is also clarified by the Supreme Court in the case of Rakshesh Doshi versus IDBI Bank. So this is also an important aspect which we need to understand, that whenever there is a trusteeship agreement, let the trustee to file, because in the trusteeship agreement normally the clause is there, whenever there's a default, the trustee will file the application, not the individual lender. So this is also an important aspect. Next step, which is more important for, is that if the stamp duty paid on the deed of guarantee is inadequate, is there a ground for rejection? Answer says no. There is no question about the rejecting that application when your stamp duty is inadequate, because that is not the executive authority will have to see that. It is only between the, and in normal circumstances, stamp duty is required to be paid by the corporate debtor. So here, Bank of India versus Gupta Infrastructure India Private Limited, the judgment was very clear. The stamp duty has to be paid by the corporate debtor, and accordingly, even if it is the inadequate stamp duty, it can be admitted. Now the question rises at a point of time. The advance given by a person, say 1 crore rupees or 2 crore rupees advance given, and the person has not neither delivered the goods or not given back the money, whether it is to be treated as a financial debt? Answer says no. Advance against the goods to be purchased is not to be treated as a financial debt. It is considered to be other debts, neither the operational debt nor the financial debt. So that is what we need to be very clear. So any kind of the advances against which any creditor is trying to just go for the NCLT, the application cannot be admitted. Another thing, that at a point of time people are taking a plea that arbitration clause is there in the agreement under section 7. Therefore, it is desirable that first of all the arbitration clause should take place, and then only the financial creditor can go to the NCLT. Answer is no. Arbitration proceedings is a separate proceedings. It can take place separately. There is no requirement that you are adhere by this arbitration clause. You have to go. You can do arbitration separately, but at the same point of time, the AA, executive authority, has a right to admit your application under section 7. So you need to be very careful on this also. If there is a defective application filed by the financial creditor, what will be the role in that eventuality? The act is clear. The executive authority will give you a 7 days time for the rectification of defect. So from the date they notify that these are the defects, they give a 7 days time within which, if your defects are rectified, then the application can be admitted. If the defects are not rectified within the time given by the executing authority, the application is rejected without even going in the merits of the case. So only humble request is that it has to be properly, the application has to be properly taken care of. If it is not taken care of, the executing authority is giving you proper time, 7 days time, for rectifying your defect. From the date of notification of the defect, you have a 7 days within which you are supposed to cure your defect, submit the revised application, submit the revised documents. Then the executing authority can definitely either admit or reject the application on the basis of the merits of the case. But till that time, other merits cannot be looked into by the executing authority. They can look into the other merits only after the application is in totally complete manner. So this is also an important aspect that we need to take care of. Second question comes at a point of time that the corporate debtor against which there is no application filed, but there is a guarantor who has given a guarantee, or corporate debtor is, say, for example, partnership firm or a LLP, and another company has given a guarantee. No action taken against the corporate debtor, but the financial creditor goes to the NCLT stating that the guarantor has defaulted, or a corporate debtor has defaulted, guarantor is not, also notice is given, guarantor has not paid the money. Can guarantors file an application against the original, against the guarantor? Answer is yes. He has a right. Without even going to the original corporate debtor, it has a right to go for the purpose of only against guarantor. So no question about this. The CD can be separately taken, or it may not be taken up, but the guarantor can be taken up by the financial creditor, and against whom the proper action can be taken. So these are the aspects which we need to look into about Section 7. So Section 7 is very clear. You need to be complete application with the complete details as mentioned in Section 7. You cannot have information utility. You are supposed to give, you have to give the bankers evidences. You are supposed to give the Form 2 of the resolution, prospective resolution professional. So each and every aspect has to be taken care of while filing any kind of an application under Section 7 of the Act. So this was for the Section 7. Now let's go to the Section 9. What happens about the Section 9? What are the criteria that's tell? You are supposed to give, first of all, the demand notice in the prescribed form. So Section 9 along with Section 8, I'm just telling that Section 8 and Section 9 together because they are combined sections for the purpose of operational creditors only. It says that you are supposed to give, first of all, demand notice, and you are also supposed to give the invoice. So if you give the invoice, and then you have to give a minimum 10 days time to the CD for giving your reply. If CD gives a reply, you have to take into account the reply also. If CD has not given the reply, after 10 days only, you can just go and file an application. Prior to that, you have no right to just go and file the application. So demand notice along with the invoices in the prescribed format is required to be given. You have minimum 10 days time for waiting after sending the notice. Within 10 days, once the notice is received by the CD, thereafter only 10 days. So may I request that, gentlemen, please kindly keep your audio off. Okay, coming to this. So the day on which the application is received by the concerned CD, then only you have to wait for 10 days. I mean, you cannot afford to say that 10 days, the day on which you send the notice. You are supposed to wait till the time he receives notice, and for 10 days thereafter, you can just go and file an application. Prior to that, you cannot. You have to wait for the reply. Reply can be anything like this. He may say that there is a pre-existing dispute, or he may say that I have already filed a suit against you, or there is arbitration proceeding going against you, or he can just give the proof of the payment. He is submitting the proof that, okay, fine, I have made the payment. So if he pays the money, question of filing an application under Section 9 does not arise. So you need to be very careful that Section 9 application can be filed. If there is a pre-existing dispute, the application cannot be sustainable. If there is an arbitration proceeding going on, application cannot be sustainable. Now, a question rises, financial debt, where we have seen that is a time value of money. While here in operational credit, that either it is providing goods or services. Anything that is possible, either goods that are provided or services, yes, you are supposed to. As I told you that advance money is neither a financial debt nor a operational debt, it is a other debt. It is qualified and classified as the other debt. Statutory dues and employee liabilities are very much covered under operational debt. So they can also file if it is more than threshold limit of ₹1 crore as of now. However, regulatory dues like SEBI's dues, if you have not paid the SEBI fees or stock exchange fees, they are regular dues. They are not covered under the operational debt. So these are things which we need to understand. What is an operational cost? Now, if you are just giving demand notice in prescribed form 3 or prescribed form 4, if you are giving in prescribed form 4, you are supposed to have invoices attached with the prescribed form 4. If it is in prescribed form 3, invoices may not be attached, but then you are supposed to give the details as mentioned in the form 3 along with that. So these are the aspects which we need to keep very clear. So demand notice, along with that, you are supposed to give, whenever you are making an application, you are supposed to submit the copy of invoices as well as demand notice, demanding the payment before the adjudicating authority. So your application should carry that I have already sent demand notice before 10 days. This is a demand notice. This is a situation where I have not covered this and I have not received neither a payment nor a reply, or reply does not show that there is a pre-existing dispute, nor it is saying there is an arbitration matter going on. And therefore, I am filing about this. And you are supposed to give an affidavit stating that there is no dispute. So this is also on the operational creditor, stating that there is no dispute on that. He has to mention on affidavit. Then he has to also give a certificate from the bank. In financial institution means bank, about non-receipt of payment. I'm not receiving. Either he has to give a bank statement from the date on which he sent a demand notice till the date of the filing application, stating that the payment is not received. So it is clear that neither the payment receipt, nor there is a dispute, nor there is the arbitration proceeding, and therefore he has filed application before the adjudicating authority under Section 9 of the Act. At a point, nowadays, even the record with the information utility is also required to be submitted. So you have to just go to the IU, mention your detail, let IU to approach to the CD. CD may give the answer, whatever it is, but this is also required for you to do. Similarly, as in the financial data also. And a person who is filing the application should have a proper authority. If it is without authority, assuming that is a private limited company or a limited company, and if the authority is not given to the concerned person, then the application can be rejected without any problem. So you need to submit a resolution stating that he is an authorized person on behalf of the company, or you have to give a proper authority of the all other partners to a one partner stating that he has a right to go to the adjudicating authority for the purpose of this application of Section 9. So this is the most important part. If you even this is also not there, question does not arise that your application can be accepted by the AA. Now the question is whether the Form 2 from the prospective resolution professional is required to be given. Answer says it is a discretionary. If you want to give, you can give along with Section 9. It is not a compulsory. Like Section 7 is compulsory, Section 10 is compulsory, Section 9 does not make it compulsory. You may decide about the resolution professional, prospective, interim resolution professional, or you may decide that I do not want to give. Let the court to decide about that. Nowadays, the situation comes in the picture that the adjudicating authority is also passing an order stating that you have stated the name of Mr. ABC as a prospective resolution a professional. So you deposit rupees 1 lakh or 2 lakhs rupees along with the, in the company's account to the operational creditor. They direct that so that the first month cost can be covered up, and thereafter only whenever the COC decides and ratifies payment, the state payment will be given back to him. So these are the orders which a lot of NCLT is now making, that you can deposit, you have to deposit some money with the CD. So in spite of the fact that you have to take money from the CD, now you are paying more money, and thereafter only when the COC ratifies the money, only then you can get that money back. Otherwise, you have to bear this money of yourself. If there is no COC takes place, that money is to be borne by the operational creditor only. Or if there is no assets of the CD, nothing is recoverable. In that case also, the OC has to, operational creditor will have to bear this money for the cost of this. So these are the things which we need to understand. Now, what are the criteria to take up? Demand notice along with the invoices, as I mentioned, the prescribed format. This is what we have seen. Now, what the then it is said that whenever the operational date is for more than 1 crore due and payable, and there is no extant dispute or pendency of suit, or the payment is not made by the CD, then only adjudicating authority will accept the application, otherwise it will be rejected. any of the criteria is not fulfilled, or even that I say that even he does not have a authority to go before the executive authorities, that will be rejected. So these are criteria which we need to be very careful while looking at the filing of application. When we talk about section 7 or section 9, record of default, copy of invoice in section 8 and 9. Now, when we talk about section 10, we have to understand that copy of audited financial statement or CD for last 2 years, that I will take later on, and written consent of the insolvent professional. Section 7 and section 10 are compulsory. Section 9 is optional, as I did. Now, let's talk on the section 10. I'll be slightly taking care because I have a lot of things to cover. I'll be, wherever you have queries, you can keep it noted also. If your time is permitted to us, I will also answer all the queries. If not, then I will send you by mail also. You can submit your mail ID also. So along with that, if the time does not permit, if time permits, I will just give the proper answers, whatever that we can do. Coming back to the section 10 application, because a lot of people are coming out of section 10 application. The section 10.2 also says that you have to have a proper documents. Without that, you cannot. So as I told you that this audited financial statement of CD for last 2 years and provisional statement of the current year made up to date not earlier than 14 days from the date of application. The most important third number portion, that what I am trying to. So if you are filing an application today on 18th of that, your at least the 4th or 5th of the December statement should be available. That may be provisional, and 2022-23 and 21-22 financial audited statement should be ready while filing section 10. Section 10, you are supposed to give the name of the resolution professional along with his consent and form 2. As I told you that while giving the consent, the insolvency professional will have to see 3 aspects very clearly. No disciplinary action, means no show cause notice should have been against him. Number 1. Number 2, he has to see that his AFA should be, authorization for assignment should be valid on the date of application, and third, it should be valid on the date of the order for by the adjudicating authority. So these 3 aspects are to be taken care of by the same person. Then the corporate debtor will also have to pass a special resolution, and 75% of the shareholders present should approve that special resolution, that yes, we are there to go for section 10 application. Nowadays, what has happened that of late we have seen that number of people are finding that there is going to be income tax huge demand because of certain things. We have done a mass, and 68 under section 68, a lot of addition has taken place, and there is going to be huge demand under section from the income tax authorities. Let me go and file section 10 application. Adjudicating authorities are right either to admit or not to admit, depends upon the case. Only your motto is to just take care of the income tax demand. Adjudicating authority has not admitted. That is also the case which has taken place in the recent times. So generally, AA admits the application, but your motto is ulterior or motto is not in a right perspective, they may reject that application. So this is what you need to be very careful. So section 10, whenever you are just looking at it, you have to be very careful. 2 years balance sheet audited, current provisional not later than 14 days of the filing the application, and it has to be approved by 75% of the shareholders. And along with that, you're supposed to give the consent from the prospective resolution professional. These are the documents which are required to be submitted along with the section 10. So if these are completely taken care of, these are in a right perspective, then definitely the adjudicating authority, and your motto is not ulterior, or motto is not to just avoid making the payment of the date, then in that eventuality, adjudicating authority definitely admits your application under section 10. In number of cases, it has happened that even the auditor who has signed the balance sheet is not he has said that I have not signed. Now the adjudicating authority may reject the application at that point. Prior to that, the AA takes care of each and every aspect, because these are the aspects which they do not know. Unless somebody objects these things, then only it will take place on that. So these are the cases which have been found out before the NCLT also. Now let's talk about the suspension. This was also COVID period. Section 10A take place. Section 10 states that the CRP was suspended originally for a period of 6 months and thereafter the up to 1 year because of the impact of the COVID-19. Now the question arises, so anything which is covered between 25/3/2020 to 25 prior to 25/3/2021, so that 1 year, any date which has defaulted, when you cannot make any application as of date also, because this is covered under section 10A. This is not covered. This period is a suspended period, and therefore even today also you cannot file an application. The act was very clear and it has given a protection. However, the most important part which we need to understand, assuming that today I have filed an application of 2000, my date was due in 2018 or 2019. Today in 2023, if I am filing the application, I say that 1 year period was a COVID period whereby it was excluded. Therefore, my original date was due and defaulted in 2019. Thereafter, no transaction took place. There is no acknowledgement of date by the CD. And today, if I am filing the application before the NCLT, can we say that this 1 year period is excluded, therefore 3 years limitation does not arise? Answer says no. Then from that day to 3 years is covered. That 1 year was not covered under the non-limitation period. There is no moratorium given to the corporate debtor, and therefore, if it is prior to 25/3/2020, within 3 years, you are supposed to file an application. Otherwise, your right of filing an application is gone, or your application may be rejected on the ground of the limitation. So we need to be very clear and careful that limitation period is given only to the extent, limitation period is very much there from the date on which the date due. However, only for one specific year, from 25/3/2020 to 24/3/2021, any date which is due or defaulted, for that only you are not supposed to take into account. For that, you cannot file any application. Otherwise, the period is going on. So you are be careful, and you have to be take care of section 10A. Only that period date is not to be covered. Even your date is say 50 lakhs rupees was prior to that, 70 lakhs within that particular period, and 20 lakhs thereafter. So 70 and 2090 will be given. 50 plus 20, 70 will be taken. The in between the 70 lakhs rupees date from 25/3/2020 to 24/3/2021, whatever date is taking place, that is the excluded period, and therefore that will be not taken into account while computing the total amount of the date. So 1 crore rupees limit is to be taken. So you cannot say that 1 crore is total of including that. The CD has a right to take the plea that this date is not due and not payable. Let's go to section 11. It deals with only those people who cannot file against you. So here in this case, I'm not going much over, but the only thing I'm just trying to touch up that the CDs who are undergoing through CRP, he cannot file an application. Or pre-package insolvency process, if he has filed, you cannot file against you. If the 12 months have not been elapsed in completion of CRP, meaning thereby today we are on 18th of December 2023. Somebody's CRP completed on say 1st March 2023, he cannot file further application against any other person for the purpose of the under section 7, 9 or 10. The resolution applicant who was successful resolution and has violated the terms of resolution plan, he could not make the payment, or he has violated any of the norms of his plan, even he is not entitled to make an application. And the CD against whom the liquidation process has taken place cannot file an application. So these are the restrictions that is given by the section 11. So our journey is to file an application, but I'm dealing because section 11 was there. Therefore, so I'm not going in depth of that. Let's go to the next section. Section 12 is important for the time limit. CRP time limit, how much time that we are supposed to complete the CRP. As we know very well, Standard time is given is 180 days, not more than that. From the date of admission, the time starts, not from the date of application. Understand this point. Application, and there are arguments and counter arguments and rebuttal, reply and rebuttal, and everything takes place for 6 months. Then that 6 months will not be counted. The day on which the application is admitted, that is the first day from which the timeline starts. So there, the Act has clearly mentioned starts and finish line. Start line 0, that is the day on which it's admitted. Finish line is 180 days. Maximum it can be extended once for 90 days. Understand? Only for once. You cannot go on asking for extension again and again. So as a RP, you have to be very careful. Whenever you are asking an see, at a point of time, in one of my cases, it has happened that I was clearly saying that you have a right to claim for 90 days. No, I don't want to give for 90 days. I want only 30 days. Even AA, Education Authority, has also asked me a similar question, that you have a right up to 90 days. Why do you ask for 30 days? You complete and come back. Will not say no to you. But the COC says, no, we do not want more than 30 days. Otherwise, other COC members may not vote and it may create a complication. So I want it only 30 days. But the only one time the NCLT has a right to give an extension. So my only humble request is, whenever you are asking for an extension, you should ask direct for 90 days. So ultimately 180 plus 90, maximum 270 days. That is what it is said. However, the NCLT has given at a point of time the exclusion period. When we talk about the exclusion period, means at a point of time when there is a dispute, or whenever there is a application file and the Education Authority has taken a number of days more for the purpose of deciding about the extension, then those period is to be treated as the exclusion period, and then the 90 days to be considered. But it is also said that including the date of liquidation, the Act is clear that not more than 330 days should take place. However, in number of cases, we have seen that litigation time also goes for 1 year or 2 years. So those period is to be considered the exclusion period, and only it is to be decided within that time. So those are exclusion period. Maximum 180 is a normal period, 90 maximum further, maximum with the litigation not more than 330 days. This is what the Act is very clear and is sacrosanct about the timeline. Ultimately, the Act is, as I said, that SICA Act, there was no timeline. The years together, 12 years, 15 years, I have seen that the application were there in the BIFR or AIFR. Here they are very clear. Application under section 7, 9 or 10 should not be having more than this. The CRP either end and go for liquidation, or go for the purpose of the resolution. Whatever you want, but your timeline is sacrosanct, and you have to believe that as a RP, you are supposed to be very clear that timeline should not cross beyond this. Now, who has to file an application before the AA for the purpose of extension? Whether COC or RP, answers is RP will have to file. COC will not file. RP will have to file. RP can reimburse the money from the CD's pocket, or is from the COC. Because of the fact that these applications are required to be, he has to request to the COC stating that this is not possible to complete within this time, and therefore we have to go for extension. COC decide about extension. Along with that minutes of the meeting, he has to go to the Education Authority and request for the purpose of extension of time. So this is what we need to be very careful. As I said, the exclusion of time period from CRP in specific cases allowed, like what we have seen in the SR case, or so many cases we have seen that because it has traveled up to the Supreme Court, number of days have gone. In between also COVID cases were there. So at that point of time, exclusion was given. So in so many cases, the exclusion was given. But generally nowadays, because of the fact that in between there was a situation where the total judges, proper benches were not available, proper judges were not available, number of benches were empty, and therefore one particular judge was taking 2 or 3 benches, and therefore they were giving more time, and those time were excluded. But nowadays the government is very agile. They want to strengthen the NCLT, and recently they have stated that we are going to appoint another 100 judges in the NCLT benches, and accordingly they try to see to the timeline should be adequately adhered to, and it is a sacrosanct. You cannot afford to just get out of that timeline. So this is the section 12 is the most important section for us as a insolvency professional. Whenever we are doing that, any timeline which starts it has to complete within a specific timeline. You cannot afford to go beyond a specific timeline. Otherwise, you have to understand that the CD will go to liquidation instead of the even if that, I've seen in one of the case, it has taken for 450 days or 460 days. And then after they requested for the time, it is said that only there's a one member of COC, and therefore you decide within 2 days, otherwise we'll take it to liquidation. So the NCLT is very clear. Whenever you are supposed to edit timeline under the insolvency resolution process, CIRP, the timeline should be properly adhered to. Otherwise, you have to face the consequences of the liquidation. So be careful on this. We as the professionals are more answerable. I would like to say answerable. We are answerable. And we need to be after the people, stating that this timeline should be adhered. Coming back to this next section is the section 12A. When we talk about the section 12A, so 12A deals with the withdrawal of application admitted under section 7, 9, or 10. Now, there are various circumstances which takes place. First takes place that at the time of the after filing the application, but before the judgment takes place, the same OC or FC can come and withdraw the application. No problem. NCLT will allow for withdrawal of the application. If you have settlement, they may have mentioned that subject to the settlement, if the settlement fails, this application may be revived. This kind of orders the NCLTs, honorable NCLTs are passing left and right. B, after the judgment is now reserved for order, but it is not pronounced because there will be time between the reservation of the judgment and the pronouncement of the judgment. Maybe a week time or 10 days time or 15 days time. Meanwhile, the parties have come to an amicable settlement. You can either go with a purshish before the NCLT, or you can file an IA stating that this is the situation, we already made the payment, therefore we want to, therefore kindly this, do not pronounce the order, de-reserve the order, and mention that this application withdrawn or whatever the case is, or disposed of. NCLT can definitely look, because ultimate aim of the insolvency process is not to take the corporate debtor in the liquidation, but to go for a resolution. And without going for a resolution, the corporate debtor can go and clear the dues. NCLT is not inclined to just pass an order against the corporate debtor, because they also know that number of people are working there and there should not be any problem to other creditors too. So this is the second question. So first question is before the judgment is reserved. Prior to that, your settlement takes place, you can file a purchase and get it back. Or you can request the NCLT for disposal and withdrawal. After the reserved, but before the pronouncement, you can again file an IA or file a purchase and request the NCLT that the amount is settled, and therefore question does not arise to give a judgment also. So they can de-reserve the order and give the judgment for disposal. Now the third circumstances come that after the order is pronounced, but before the COC took place. So after the order is pronounced, the RP is, insolvency professional, IRP is already appointed. Now when the IRP is appointed, but before the COC has taken place, and the CDA from their own pocket, look into that, three circumstances are different circumstances. The first circumstance is, during the course of the application, the CD can pay the money and get rid of that. Second circumstance is when the order is passed, order is reserved, but not passed. At that point of time, it is the CD who can make the payment. Now, third circumstance is the order is pronounced, IRP is appointed, COC is not formed. Here in this case, the promoters will have to pay the money from their pocket, clear the dues, and then request the RP, a joint request by the FC or OC to the RPs requesting that we are requested to withdraw this application, and accordingly it can be withdrawn. But it is through RP only it is to be done, IRP, and not by the FC or OC can do it. Fourth circumstances which is coming up after formation of COC, but before the expression of interest is published, then with the consent of the 90% of the members of the COC, withdrawal application is possible. So these are the things which I have mentioned, the four circumstances. Now, at a point of time, what the people are doing, that once the IRP is appointed, and they do not want that, I do not want to pay all the COC members, I want only the one FC or one OC the money. They immediately go request the NCLT. Now the Education Authority has already passed the orders. They cannot relook their order. They have no authority to relook their order. They have no right to go back on their order. In that eventuality, it is always he has to go to the NCLT requesting for a stay of COC formation. The COC formation may be stayed, and request that I am interested to make the payment to the same FC or OC, only one FC or OC who has filed the case against me, and accordingly I want to go for a withdrawal under section 12A. So that is possible. But in that eventually you have to go to NCLT, request them for stay of formation of COC against the IRP. IRP does not form the COC, and then only it is possible to get that money to be paid. So the various circumstances in which your withdrawal is possible. Withdrawal is possible only 12A possible through RP once the IRP or RP, once the COC is, once the application is admitted. Before admission, yes, directly FC or OC can, or even the CD can go and withdraw the application, get it withdraw the application. So these are the circumstances which we need to understand very clearly. So section 12A is simple and clear that withdrawal by an RP is possible once it is admitted. Withdrawal with the consent of the 90% of the COC members, but before filing, before giving the EOI. If the EOI is once issued, nobody has the right to stop the proceedings, and it is only the fait accompli. Then the RP has also no right, unless the court decides that yes, it is possible to do. That's a different. But till so far, there are no circumstances which has taken place where the court has stated that after the EOI is issued, you have no right to withdraw the application. So these are circumstances which we need to be very clear. So I explained you the four circumstances during the course of the arguments, but before the judge order is out, after the order is out, after the order is pronounced, and after the COC is formed, but before the EOI has taken place. Four circumstances which we have discussed as far as the section 12A for the withdrawal of application under section 7, 9, or 10 is there. So we will discuss about the section 12A. Now let's go for the 13th and 14th. Declaration of moratorium and public announcement. Here in this case, educating authority is passing the order, stating that Mr. So-and-so is IRP. On the day on which they have passed the order within, on the same day or second day when the IRP or RP comes to know that this has taken place, he has to immediately come in action. And at that point of time, the moratorium is also declared under section 14. Understand this point. AA declared, moratorium referred to section 14. Now, within 3 days from the date of taking over the position, the IRP is required to make a public announcement for the CIRP. This is the most important part. Look at this. As the IP, we are supposed to be so much agile. We have to be so clear that within what time we are supposed to act. So the day on which, if you become a IP or you become IRP, you have to immediately act, go take the control of the assets of the corporate debtor. Immediately within 3 days from that date means you need to just make a clear-cut situation on the website of the corporate debtor that XYZ company is under the CIRP. You have to also within 3 days in a one English newspaper and one regional newspaper stating that this company is under CIRP. Public announcement is required to be made by you. So this is the most important part. You have to be agile. You have to act upon immediately. You have to see to it that there cannot be any kind of loopholes taking place. Otherwise, what happens? It is the RP who is always considered to be guilty. At a point of time, it is possible that the IRP is appointed, he has not given a consent because this is an operational creditor who has filed an application. But he has not suggested anybody's name. So under these circumstances, what happens? When he has not suggested anybody's name, the adjudicating authority from the list will find out an RP, our insolvency professional, and they make him as a IRP in the company. Now what happens? If I become an IRP in that company, I have to see to it that I should not have direct or indirect relationship with that company. If I have some kind of relationship, because I never given a consent, but now because my name is there in the list of the IBBI has given a list, and that is with the adjudicating authority, they have referred my name as a interim resolution professional. Now the day on which I get the order, either I have to convey immediately to the adjudicating authority stating that I have direct or indirect interest in this company and therefore I may not be able to take up this task. If I will not do that, even if I know that this company I know since long, or if I was the auditor of this company, or if I was working with this company, or if I have kind of some kind of relationship with this company's promoters, then it is my duty to go and declare before the adjudicating authority stating that I have a direct or indirect interest in the company and therefore I cannot become IRP. I request you to kindly, I show my inability to become IRP of this company and request you to appoint somebody else. So immediately at that point of time, now the moratorium starts from that day. IRP has denied that I will become IRP of this company, right? But immediately at that point of time, again the adjudicating authority will appoint some other person as IRP. So you need to be very clear and careful that whenever such circumstance happens, you as a IRP, you as a RP, you have to be clear that I do not want to become a part of this process because of the fact that I have a direct or indirect relationship with the company or its promoter, and therefore I should not remain as an IRP. So it is your duty, not the otherwise what happens at any point of time, the adjudicating authority or IBBI comes to know that you had a relationship or you had some kind of interest in that company directly or indirectly. In spite of that, you accepted this assignment, meaning thereby you are professionally guilty for that, and any action can be taken by the IBBI against you. So insolvency professional has to be an agile. He has to see to it that he does not have any interest in that, and then only he has to accept that particular assignment. Otherwise, he should deny the assignment, let the AA to appoint another person, let it take another 5-7 days, doesn't make any difference. But you should be very clear and composed that no action should be taken against you. Nowadays, even in this eventuality, they are taking the directly IPA is also coming up in the picture, but with the responsible person as you. And you are a responsible person, you are having direct or indirect interest, you should clearly mention your interest. And if it is possible to accept, then only you accept, otherwise do not accept the assignment. My only humble request to one and all, that assignments might come and go, but your impressions, your situations with the AA, with the IBBI, it is more important than anybody else. So your stake is much higher in the future. So you have to be clear, otherwise don't accept that assignment. If you are clear that you can take up the assignments, even otherwise also. Today, if I'm not well, I'm suffering from some kind of the situation and I'm hospitalized, I'm appointed as the IP due to the list because I had given it list before 3 months or 2 months. And today, now it is decided that I have to take up care of XYZ company. I can go and say that as I'm not well, I'll not be able to accept this assignment, even if I do not have any interest in that. So it is not always the interest which is important. It is always that whether you will be able to take care of this company or not. That's important. Say, for example, I am sitting in, say, Delhi, or I am sitting in Ahmedabad and somebody is there in Surat, some company is there, and I may not be able to take care of because of my health. I have to mention very clearly to the AA, stating that I am not able to accept this due to my ill health, and therefore I request you to not to appoint me as an IR. So these are the circumstances you have to be. Otherwise, once you become IRP and once you accepted that position, you have to take care of each and every aspects thereafter. You cannot afford to get out of anything. Means by the due process of law has to be followed by you. If you do not follow the due process of law, you will have a lot of troubles thereafter through IBBI or educational authority when they also pass these strictures against the insolvency professional. So as an insolvency professional, you have to be very clear whether you will be able to accept the assignments. Yes, if you can accept the assignment. See, as I told initially that the IBC is an evolving act. Slowly and gradually, the situation is now taken care of, and slowly and gradually is coming out in a right shape. So, in the similar fashion, the insolvency professional also today we do not have any standards going on like this auditing standards for the chartered accountants and the secretarial standards for the Institute of Company Secretaries. All those are there. So tomorrow there may be standards which are coming for the even insolvency professionals also. We have to follow those standards, right? So at that point of time, all these things will take place. That whether you are having an interested party, whether you are having this, so all those questions will be asked, and once you are saying yes or no, then only assignments will be taking place. But that is, as I said, that it's an evolving act, and therefore today we cannot say yes or not, but it can be taken care of later on. So we are the people who have to decide that what can be the standard operating practice, and accordingly we have to accept the assignment or we should reject the assignment. So my humble request to one and all, that if you have direct or indirect interest with the corporate debtor, first of all, if you are asked to give the form 2, do not give. Even you are not given form 2, but it is the operational creditor's request, and at that point, or even the financial creditor has given somebody's name and he is, say, expired, or he is no more, or he has given AFA is not valid, and then you are appointed. At that point of time, you have to clearly decide whether you want to accept this assignment or not to accept the assignments, and accordingly only you decide. So this is the most important aspects which I want to discuss with all the insolvency professional, that whenever you accept the assignments, you have to be very, very clear that you should not have a direct or indirect relationship either with the promoters of the company or with the company, and then only you try to decide. As you are aware that you should not have taken any kind of the work since last 5 years and all with the said company. Then only you can accept it. Otherwise, if you've taken some professional fees in last 5 years, if you're auditors of that company for last 5 years, either a secretarial audit or a chartered or a financial audit, then also you should not accept the said assignment. So most important part as far as the IP is concerned, we have to decide that, because what is happening that assignments will come and go. You should not have any problem at any point of time. That's the most important part, right? Now coming to the next task, because nowadays what happens, these personal insolvency resolution process has started. After the Supreme Court has cleared the desk, a number of cases will come. So you will have a ample work in coming 6 months, 12 months. I mean, you will have to decide that whether I should accept this work or not to accept this work. But at PIRP or CIRP, at that point, you have to work out a solution that the quality work should be there. Quantity is not important, quality is important. And ultimately, you should not be framed under any charges. That is important. So direct or indirect, if you are in personal insolvency, if you have direct or indirect interest with that person, you should not accept that assignment, right? Similarly for CIRP also. Now let's try to understand that the moratorium is declared by the AA under section 40. You have to call for public announcement under section 15. The IRP is appointed under section 16. And once the public announcement is made, Now, what happens at that point of time when moratorium is declared? Whether the moratorium, when the moratorium is declared, at that point of time, to whom it is declared is an important aspect, or to whom it is applicable. Let's try to understand this. Moratorium, because as the IP, we need to know very clearly what is my role when the moratorium has taken place. So my rule is that any cases which are, or proceedings which are against the CD, they are right now stopped on the day on which the moratorium takes place. So moratorium means institution of suits or proceedings. That is what is mentioned. The suits and proceedings means any show cause notice given. There is no question. Once your IP, you write a letter that the company is under CIRP and moratorium is declared, given an order of that particular bench, moratorium's details give and say that therefore this proceedings is to be kept in abeyance. Means that proceedings will not be gone, but till the time it is resolution takes place or regulation takes place, that proceedings will be kept in abeyance. Nothing can happen in that case. Any suit filed against any against the CD before any court, you just as the RP or as the IRP, it is your duty to submit the copy of the order under copy of the order where the moratorium is declared. The NCLT's order, you submit that stating that this is the situation, and therefore the question of any suit to be pursued by that particular court cannot happen. Court will immediately stay that matter until the time their stay will be granted, till the time moratorium is going. So that's the most important. The assets of the CD, moratorium is basically transferring of the assets or encumbering the assets or anything or disposing of the assets of the CD will not be permitted under the moratorium. So anybody who comes under Surface Act, not applicable. Anybody who can come for the recovery or suits, not applicable. Moratorium is there. You will just give the order of the Honorable NCLT, and that suffices that he cannot take the action against it. Any property owned or occupied, it is not owned by the CD, but it is occupied by the CD. Nobody can take back the possession of that particular property till the time CIRP is going. So CIRP is a very powerful tool as of now in the country, because the latest act which has come up, IBC, and there it is clearly mentioned, notwithstanding anything contained in any other law. Meaning thereby, in any other law, what has happened? We are above them. So any act which has come up after 2016 only has some kind of, and if they have a non-obstantable clause, then it's the only situation where they can prevail upon it. Otherwise, this can. Now, to whom moratorium is not applicable? That's an important aspect. It is
retail property sale purchase career no आई नहीं मेरे पास ना.
May I request the concerned person to keep that audio, please. Okay. Moratorium is not applied. Section 14(3)(b) is very clear to surety or guarantee. To the promoters for the cases filed under Section 138 or for any criminal complaint against the promoter. See, so you are not getting any, you are a promoter or director of the company. You are issued a check prior to 1 year. Check was bounced. Today the moratorium takes place. Company is covered. CD is covered. However, director is not covered. Director is required to go through the process of the criminal process. He cannot be exonerated by only CIRP. As of now, people are saying that PIRP is filed, then directors may be covered. But in CIRP, directors are not covered. So all cases on Section 138 can take place, or any criminal complaint filed against any director or an officer of the company, that it is an independent proceeding and it is not covered under the moratorium. Again, at the same point of time, CD does not have a restrictions of not claiming its money. Say, for example, CD has to take, say, 10 lakhs from one debtor, then he has right to take that money from him. But if he has to pay to some creditor, he is not required to make the payment. And nobody can claim against it because moratorium is going on. At the same point of time, claims and counterclaims are there. Meaning thereby, I have to take 10 lakhs rupees from you. My company is under moratorium, you have to take 20 lakhs from me. I can ask 10 lakhs from you. You cannot ask 20 lakhs from me because my company is under moratorium. So, and that 20 against 10 cannot be adjusted also. That is not allowed. So here it is most important as per the moratorium is concerned. When we talk about the moratorium, the claims and the counterclaims, I repeat and reiterate that claims and counterclaims cannot be adjusted. You cannot say that 20 lakhs I would take and 10 lakhs you would take. Now I will ask for 10 lakhs. That's not possible. You have to pay me 10 lakhs. Your 20 lakhs will be a part of your claim. It will be covered by the IRP or RP whenever the claims statement will take place. But these 10 lakhs, you are supposed to make the payment. Then what they say that, yes, it applies to the cases proceeding by income tax, GST authority, everywhere moratorium applies. However, cases by PML and attachment by PML prior to CRP, moratorium won't apply as it is a proceeds of crime. Proceeds of crime is an important. In PMLA, they always talks about the proceeds of crime. And therefore, any assets which are attached prior to the commencement of CRP by the PMLA authority or ED, enforcement director, that cannot go back to the IRP, that will remain under the attachment because this is to be treated as a proceeds of crime if it is under the PMLA. So you have to be very careful that if any ED notice is there, ED has already attached some assets, then those assets cannot be a part of the CD's assets. It is a proceeds of crime assets and therefore moratorium will not apply in this case. It is said that somebody has already taken a action under the SARFAESI and thereafter the moratorium takes place. Whether this action of the SARFAESI can take place or go out, answer it can go out because once the IBC takes place, it is overruling the SARFAESI and therefore automatically it goes out. It applies to that. Negotiable Instrument Act for the CD, moratorium applies. DRT, moratorium applies. Now what happens? Any payment you have made after the moratorium, means today the application is admitted, the order is pronounced, but the RP, as the name of the RP has already been given, however the RP got the copy after 3 days. Between these 3 days, the CD has made some payment. Answer says that payment will go back to the CD. That payment is in contradiction of the moratorium and therefore any payment made after the moratorium but before the appointment of RP will go back to the CD. That person has no right to take that payment. And these are the standard cases which has taken place. NCLT, this category is stated that once the moratorium arrives, say for example, bank is having some kind of the money which he has to take and somebody has paid the money before the RP has given a notice to the bank, but moratorium has taken place today. Tomorrow the RP went day after tomorrow and given a notice to the bank. Prior to that, tomorrow the bank has taken that money for their dues. Answer says that money should go back to the RP as a part of the corporate debtor assets because moratorium has already started. These are the cases which has taken place. It does not apply for counterclaim or claim against third party, meaning thereby, if any director has given any kind of a guarantee, the moratorium will not apply. He has to make the payment against that. You cannot say no. So moratorium is very clear where it is applied. So we as RP, because we are facing a lot of problems as a insolvency resolution professional or resolution professional, that lot of notices we are getting from the various departments stating that custom department says that I have to take money from you, please give me this money or please send me the details. We say that this is under the CIRP, this is the order of the Honorable NCLT, and therefore the moratorium will not, moratorium is applying, therefore I am not able to submit the details or data or the money. And therefore, these proceedings is to be kept in abeyance till the time CIRP takes place. So what is an important for us to understand is that whenever we talk about the moratorium in this manner, moratorium has to apply only in case of PMLA, where the attachment took place prior to CRP, it is a proceeds of crime and it is not a CD's asset and therefore moratorium will not apply. Otherwise, in all the cases, once the moratorium, the executive authority pronounced the order for the CRP, automatically the moratorium takes place. Now, with this, let us take a 10 minutes break. We'll again come back at 3:35 and we start our further session thereafter. Meanwhile, whatever your queries are there, I request you to just send through a mail, through in the chat box, and we'll definitely take care of it. But up till now, we have understood about the filing of application to the moratorium, and we go further in this application. I'll take 10 minutes break, and thereafter we proceed further. At 3:35, we'll assemble again. Thank you very much for the time being.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very good afternoon again. After a break of 10 minutes, let's again assemble here for the purpose of the next session. We have covered our basic topic is journey from filing of application with NCLT till issuance of Information Memorandum. As I told earlier also and reiterate that, this includes section 7 to section 29. Most important, most vulnerable, most questionable, and most important sections these are. With respect to the corporate debtor, with respect to the operational creditor, with respect to financial creditors, and with respect to the insolvency professionals too. Because these are the initiation sections from where the CRP starts. And when the CRP starts with that, we understand that whether the corporate debtor can be taken to the insolvency resolution process, that will take place by the order of the Honorable Adjudicating Authority, NCLT. Or it may be challenged before NCLT or maybe challenged before the Supreme Court if the parties are agreed by that. Now, when we talk about when we say about journeys from this to that, it can be said that, as I told you, that timelines are sacrosanct, and therefore once it is admitted, the work of the insolvency professional starts from that seconds onwards. I would like to say from that seconds onwards, the day on which the order is pronounced. So pronouncement of order is an important. Once the order is reserved, the insolvency professional who has given his name consent for the purpose of the proposed CRP, there he has to be agile, and the day on which the order is pronounced, he has to be there. If the application is accepted, his work starts from the immediately same second. Meaning thereby, he has to be proactive. He cannot sit idle. He cannot say that I will not go for the purpose of this CRP, or I will take care when the order will be taken care of. He has to go to the court, try and take the copy from the court, and if he gets that copy, immediately he has to go to the office of the corporate debtor. Because of the fact that during this time only a day or 2 or 5 days or 10 days gap is given to the corporate debtor, there are chances that corporate debtor may try to do a mischief, which may create a lot of complications to this particular CD. So, you have to be careful in understanding that there cannot be any mischief taken care of by this CD, and therefore you have to be proactive as an IP. Now, we have understood up to the section 14. Now let's go to section 15. When we say that section 15 is clearly dealing with public announcement of the CIRP. Now, when we say that public announcement by the CIRP, what are the things that we have to take care of it? Because as IP, we are the people who are understanding that we have to take care of that, where to announce this. The first of all, it is stated that it is to be announced on the various places, minimum 3 or 4. 3 places means 2 vernacular newspaper. One is a vernacular newspaper. Second is an English newspaper having a wide circulation. Now look at that. Act is silent on the wide circulation. Act does not say that what is the wide circulation. Wide circulation means, however, in so many courts, high courts have come out with certain decisions on that wide circulation means what. So at that point of time, Gujarat High Court might have said that 20,000 is the minimum circulation copies of the particular newspaper. That is known as the wide circulation. But nowadays, as the act is silent, we cannot say that which is a wide circular. But we have to look into that. Whichever the states that we are doing it, we should know that the regional language in which we are just giving that particular newspaper, we are giving the advertisement, public announcement, that newspaper should have an adequate circulation, because it is we who have to decide about that. maybe slightly more money that CD has to come out, but we should not cover under the any cloud while giving it to a lower circulation newspaper, but we should go to the wide circulation newspaper. That's the most important part. Secondly, English newspaper. You have to choose a proper English newspaper like Indian Express or Times of India or a Financial Express or Economic Times, as the case may be. But it has to be a nationwide circulation so that you will not cover under any clues. So this is the most important. Thirdly, we have to also give the notice on the corporate data's website, if any. Corporate data as a website, then we are also supposed to submit that company is under the CIR. And fourthly, we are also required to give the same details on the IBBI website. So these are the four aspects which we have to take care of it. Now, what are the things that we have to write in that public announcement? It says that you're supposed to give the name and address of the city, number one. You have to also give the UDI, company's SIN number, company's incorporation number that we are supposed to give, which is the registration authorities, means the register of companies, Gujarat, register of companies, Maharashtra, whosoever it may be. You to also give the last date of the submission of claims, that within 7 days or so and so days, you're supposed to give your claim in a specified forms prescribed by the adjudicating also, by the IBBA. So if you are FC, you are OC, you are employees, you are statutory guiders, the detail, the claims are to be given under specific forms which are very much prescribed by the IBBI. And therefore, the last date of the submission of the claims are required to be given. You to give your details about who are you, IRP, your number. You to also give your address, everything. You to also mention very clearly that any claims which are false claims, then there may be a penalty starting from 1 lakh to 1 crore, whatever it is. False claim or misleading claims, there will be a penalty. Then you to also give that date on which the CRP shall close, because you are giving that the CRP is initiated with effect from X date. So now 180 days from that day is the last day for closure of the CRP. This is a standard situation because of the fact that the day on which it is admitted, from that day, 180 days, or at a point of time, if the RP said it is admitted on 18th December 2023, but RP came to know on 19th December or 20th December, RP will write down that RP came to know only on 20th December, so from that 180 days he is considering. So this is what we are supposed to take care of it. As I said, the pronouncement should be in one English newspaper and one regional newspaper with a wide circulation. I repeat it very clearly. Reiterate that, because tomorrow, what is happening, I'll tell you. That insolvency professional is not desired by the suspended board of directors. And if you are making any mistake, see, they are always looking at that. If you are making any mistake, then that mistake is to be challenged before the adjudicating authority. And then they will also give your name before the IBBI about a professional misconduct and all. So do not come under this cloud. Do not take any kind of a pain. Always be clear that it has to, the regional newspaper should have a wide circulation in which only you are supposed to give this. Otherwise, you will be in trouble. You are also supposed to give, as I said, it on the website of the corporate data. If it is a website, you have to mention that the company is under the CIR. And you have to also give on the website of the IBBI that this company is under CIR. Now, so these are the aspects which are required to be taken care of by the RP. So IRP has to be vigilant. He cannot take any, he should, within 3 days from the date of the receipt of the order, the newspaper in which he wants to publish that advertisement, he has to give this CRP has commenced. He cannot take more than that time. Within 3 days, it should come under the newspaper. That's the most important part which we need to understand and apply. If we are not applying that, we are making the biggest blunder of our life. So that's the important thing. Now, when we tell that which form, that schedule of CRP regulation 2016, it is in form A. Form A is defining that, very clearly given that standard format is given, that all the details as per that standard format should be there in the public announcement. You cannot miss anything, because they have mentioned that name and address of the CD, same number of the CD, last date of submission of claim, when the 180 days completes, when the who is the IRP, all these things are required to be given. That is under Form A. Clear? So this is the section 15 deals with that. Now, when we are saying that submission of claims by creditors, it has to be along with the proofs of claim. We have to mention very clearly along with all the relevant documents. So only claim I need not to say that I have to take rupees 10 crore from ABC company. That should not be sufficient for me. I have 10 crore rupees. How am I asking? I have to give my ledger account. I have to give my copies of the invoices, if any, or any contract copy. And I will show my invoices, if any. I have to also show that I have delivered the goods to the CD. So I have to give a delivery challenge. So all these proofs are required to be submitted along with my claim. So if anything is not missing, I can reject the claim. So proof of claim is an important aspect. Now, the important thing, more importantly here in this case, what is the aspect that you have to take care of it? Today, you decide that Mr. A is a financial creditor or he is an operational creditor, and tomorrow you try to classify from operational to financial, the court will not allow. So the first, you can say, for example, Mr. A has given a claim of rupees 30 lakhs, but you are accepting a claim of only 5 lakhs as operational creditors, and tomorrow he gives more documents because he has a right to give the documents, proof within further total 90 days. So in that eventuality, the operational creditors claim amount may be increased from 5 lakhs to 30 lakhs. As the IRP, you have to be very careful that, but you cannot reclassify him from operational to the financial creditors. That's the most important part which IRP has to understand. Once the classification has taken place as OC, he should remain as OC. His claim amount may be varying, maybe increase or decrease, but his classification cannot be changed once he is classified. Or if you want to change the classification, you to approach to the AA, or you tell him to approach AA, and then only from them it is possible to do that. So the most important part for you as an IP or IRP is that you have to classify the claim either as OC or FC or as other creditors or statutory creditors. But once you classified, you cannot reclassify the persons. So that is an important which we have to take into account. If we do not take into account, that may create a complication for us, and the other creditors may take us to the adjudicating authority, and that may create a complication for as a IRP. Now, when we say the proof of the claim, as I told you that OC has to give the claim in Form B. As I told, along with the copy of the contract or a purchase order, along with a copy of invoice. If there's a dispute and this or arbitration order, then copy of the court order. Your accounts, means from your ledger accounts, you have to give the complete copy of relevant extract. Then you are also supposed to give, if you have paid the GST, if you are entitled to make the payment of GST, then you are supposed to give GSTR1 and GSTR3B form. So if you give the relevant extract, if you do not give the relevant extract of GSTR1 or GSTR3B, then also you are not entitled for getting a claim. So what is an important for you as a OC that your claim? So nowadays what happens that a lot of OCs are going to the IPs who have worked for the purpose of various insolvency resolution process, and then request them to even make a proper claim. So as an IP, when you are giving a professional services to somebody only for a claim, then you do understand that A, the claim form should be correct. B, the claim form should have a proper attachment. As I told you that it may be a contract copy or a copy of the invoice, purchase order, or a copy of the court order, if any, copy of the invoices, copy of your bank, copy of your ledger account detail, and along with that, your GSTR1 and GSTR3B form. Unless GST is not applicable to you, you may not keep it. But these are the required standard documents, and the claim should be in the form B and no other forms it should be. then only it can be accepted. A. So while the as IRP, you have to understand that when Form B comes, it should be classified as OC only in a prima facie manner. However, you have to also look into the various documents, and then if he has not made a claim properly in Form B, if his financial creditors, then you say that you have made a claim in Form B which is not correct, you have to give in the specific form for the financial creditors. This is the operational creditor. That's the one most important part you have to take care of it. Otherwise, once you classify him as a OC, you cannot reclassify him as a FC, even if all the documents are in his favor, because then the other creditors may go to the court and take you on the task. So as IRP, and you may be also finding a disciplinary action and all other things against you. So my only humble request to you, while verifying the claim, all the documents are to be verified. A. B. The claim should be in the correct form. C. Whether it's a OC or FC or a statutory creditors, you have to look into, and then only you certify that what is the situation. Now, coming back to the next aspects, if you're a financial creditor, when you're a financial creditor, then your claim should be in the Form C of the schedule. And this has to be the electronic form. So you cannot, you are supposed to give in the electronically to the RP, along with whatever the records available with you. Meaning thereby, the financial creditors must have entered into a financial agreement. Okay, fine, I am giving you 10 lakhs rupees or 10 crore rupees loan. This is the agreement that we have. So that copy of the agreement is required. The contract or agreement copy is to be attached along with that. Number two, you do also attach that any TDS deducted prior in last 2, 3, 5 years, whatever the year, the day on which you disperse the money. You do also show that you disperse the money. So you have to give a bank statement of yourself. You do also show that you have charged the interest from time to time. So you can show that along with that TDS and all other, and they have made the payment and they have also deducted TDS from you. So, and then you are supposed to also give the complete extract of your ledger account, wherein you have shown it as an income. You have shown that this money is due and payable by CD. And from that only the IP can able to make out. And if you have also got any record of evidences or any kind of the amount which is committed by the CD, meaning thereby today there is the acknowledgement of debt, you to just give the LAD to him. Or they have confirmed in the last audit report, you have taken a confirmation from there, you to take that from the you have taken that from the CD, you will also along with that submit the same. You are supposed to give the any copy of the court order. Say for example, this date is disputed and you have gone to the civil court or any other court, and then from that, or DRT, you file the surface action, and the DRT has order for a recovery of XYZ amount, then you are also supposed to submit that particular copy of the court order. So then only you can be considered as financial creditors. So financial creditors, again I am repeating, it has to be in Form C. Operational creditor Form B, financial creditors claim should be in a Form C. Number two, any information utility, if you have records there, you have to also give along with that. 3, any agreement or contract that is entered into, you have to give it. 4, any TDS deducted by the CD in past, just give this some kind of a certificate to them. 4, any record evidencing the amounts committed by financial creditors and payable by the CD, you are supposed to submit. And again, the copy of the extract of the ledger account or the financial statements of yourself, showing that CD is in default of so and so, or is amount due from CD amounting to be so and so. So once, or if there is any kind of a dispute between you and the CD, and there is a court which has given some injunction or some kind of order, or you have gone to DRT, then you are also supposed to give the copy of this DRT order before the IRP. IRP, by looking at all these documents, determine that is a financial creditor. Number 1, determine the amount. I'll repeat it then. What is the difference between the IRP and the liquidator? IRP is only required to determine if your claim is more than, if the financial creditor's claim is more than what the IRP has determined, IRP has determined 7 crore rupees, and you say no, it is 10 crore rupees, then you have to go to the adjudicating authorities, agitate the same, and ask that it has to be 10 crore and not 7 crore. So, IRP does not have a power to decide about the claim money. IRP is only there to determine the claim money. That is an important aspect which we need to understand from that. While liquidator is having a power. So in liquidation, whenever somebody will take care of it, he will say that liquidator has a power to decide about the money, while IRP is only. So IRP, what he will do is, he will look into the series books. He'll find out that from series books also, whatever the claims that you are making is correct or not. And if both the books are matching directly or indirectly, he will accept your claim. If both the books are not matching, then he may ask for further documents, either from you or from the suspended board of directors, asking for matching of the said thing. Unless both the things are matching between both the things, means that is to say CD and FC or CD and OC, then only he can accept the claim or he can reject the claim. Or he can determine the amount of a claim. However, again, the decision of the IRP, you have a right, means the OC or FC has a right to go before the adjudicating authority and ask for the, considering the same claim, I mean, they can agitate before the AA, requesting them to decide about or determine about the amount of claim. So either 0 money rupees is accepted, then he has to go before the IF and state, before the authority and state that this is the amount which is due and these are the evidences. If he has taken only notional amount of ₹1 due to certain circumstances which we will discuss later on, then also you can go before that. However, I repeat and request, IRP cannot reclassify OC to FC or FC to OC or vice versa. In so many cases, it happens that one person is a FC and the same person is OC also. Then the said person will have to give a FC and OC's claim separately in form B and form C, for the FC form C, for the OC form B. And both the claims are to be determined by the IRP in a separate way, not in the same way as what he has done in case of the FC. So you have to be careful. You have to see to it that if out of your 15 lakhs is due as FC and 3 lakhs due as a OC, you have to give in a 2 different form before the IRP. Form B and Form C. Form B for 3 lakhs, that is as OC, 15 lakhs for FC, and then only submit the relevant documents as discussed earlier. Along with that, you give a claim. I'm sure that all IRP will accept your claim provided the documents are genuine and it can be auditable with the books of the CD. So he has to determine the claim along with the books of the CD and decide about that whatever he has said is correct or not. So this is possible, and if it is not correct, then the reconciliation may be asked for. The differences for which the reconciliation are there, he has to ask for from the respective OC or FC, and then only decides the amount of the claim. This is what we need to understand very clearly. Now coming to the claims by the other creditors. When we talk about the claims by the other creditors, it is in form F, along with the records available with the information relating. So every time IU is important. However, it is not compulsory for you to go to IU and get that. It is possible that whatever the evidence is available with you, you may submit that. It is not required that information utility will have to just use that record. Number one, you have to give the documentary evidence with respect to the demand, your demand, that you are asking for 10 lakhs because I have paid in advance against the order. But by the time my order is executed, the company has gone to the CIR. So should I get that money or not? The question is, it will be in form F. You will also submit your bank statement stating that this money is not received by me. If any court has given a direction, then order of the court is required to be given, and he has to, along with that, the copy of the court order. Along with that, you just give the copy of your ledger account stating that this money is due from him. Now what happens? The time period for submission of claim. Maximum time period 90th day of CIRP date. Maximum. After that, no claim will be accepted. If it is to be accepted, you have to just go to the adjudicating authority, request them to accept the claim by the RP, and only with the order of the AA, IRP or RP can accept. Otherwise, that claim will be rejected. So maximum time period is 90 days, along with the required documents. I repeat and reiterate. If you have not submitted the proper evidences, it may be rejected. Now, what is the time frame with the IP or IRP to verify the claim? He has a right to verify within 7 days from the date of receipt of the claim, and is required to maintain list of the name and address of the creditors along with the amount claimed. Amount claim may be say 15 lakhs, but amount admitted may be 12 lakhs. So one column is amount claim and amount admitted. Maybe 15 lakhs and 15 lakhs both are same. But normally he tries to see to it that whatever the amount is admitted, there is a separate particularly column required to be given. Then, and once the IRP verify the claim, he has a right to admit or reject the claim. So what happens that he can say that I do not want to accept the claim because it is not with the specific documents, or he may say that there is some difficulty in it because you have not submitted the complete details of the data. I am not admitting your claim. So he has to give that. Now, IRPs or RP decision is, as I told you, is not a quasi-judicial in nature. It is not a binding on the everyone. His decision can be challenged before the AA, and AA decides that whatever the IRP has done is correct or not. Otherwise, it is not the IRP who is the final authority to decide about the claim. He has to only verify and put up before the COC, or he has to reject it. And he has to determine the claim money. And it can be changed only before AA. But it is required that before they challenges, before the AA adjudicating authority, they should also give an opportunity to IRP with documents to substantiate their claim, so that to rest the unnecessary complications in the matter. Again, as I said, that if the claims are into the foreign currency, then in that eventuality, you are required to convert the claim money from foreign currency to Indian currency on the date of reference, meaning thereby your claim has come on 20th December 2023, whatever the exchange rate going on that day will apply. So accordingly, that say for example $1 lakh, and on that day say for example 84 rupees is going on. So 1 lakh into 84, it works out to say 84 lakhs rupees. However, you cannot determine the claim in foreign currency and put up before the COC. You determine the claim in Indian currency. If there is a dispute between you and the corporate debtor, then in that eventuality, you can give your consent either to accept the claim or you have to agitate before the AA. Now, after that, when we say that, so this is with respect to the claims. So as I told, form B, C, workman claims can be another form, statutory dues are another form. So these forms are to be given along with the proper details and data, evidences to be given. If you are saying that I am a GST or I am a sale tax authority, I have to take rupees, say 25 lakhs, 30,000 from the corporate debtor, then you have to give an order passed by the GST authority to the IRP. So all those things are required to be submitted. Then only IRP can collect the entire claim. Then finalize the claim and accordingly put up before the COC. So this is the most important part which we need to understand. Claims are to be considered properly. If you do not consider claim properly, then you are in trouble. So claims is to be taken into account in a right perspective. That's what you have to take. Now coming back to the next aspect, what is the section 16 talks about the appointment and tenure of the interim resolution professional. Now let me take you into the interim resolution professionals era. See, originally it was very clearly stated that when the IBC code has come up, it was stated that 30 days from the date of admission, the IRP can be either RP or IRP can be replaced. However, now they have stated that they have modified the section and stated that till the time the RP is appointed, IRP will continue as the interim resolution professional. That's the most important part which we need to understand. So now that 30 days is gone, till the time the RP is appointed and taking charge, the IRP will continue to work as the IRP. Now, who can appoint the IRP? As I told prior to this also, I am reiterating that it can be appointed by AA if no name in the application. Section 7, 9 or 10 application is required to state the name. 9 application is optional. For 7 and 10 is compulsory. In 9, if there is optional, AA can decide. Or in 7 or 10 application, if the IRP's name is given but the IRP is disqualified, either due to disciplinary action against him or due to the expiry of the AFA, then AA will decide to appoint somebody as IRP. Now, as I told you that it shall continue till the appointment of RP under section 22. So RP will take charge till that time. IRP will have to continue as IRP. The most important part, the fees, you are aware, is expenditure and fees are to be decided by the applicant and to be deposited upfront if it is ordered so. If it is ordered so, as I told you, nowadays NCLT are ordering that his fees and expenses are to be deposited upfront, then the OC or FC will have to take care of it. And the day on which it is ratified in the COC meeting, then only it will be paid back to the OC or FC, refunded back. IRP to be appointed if there is no discipline, as I said, pending before him or as valid AFA. It is compulsory to give name of IRP, as I said, 7 and 10 application. In OC application, it is optional. As I repeated prior to this, also reiterate that it should be independent of the CD. If you are directly or indirectly having any kind of the relationship with the CD, you should not be, you are not qualified to become a IRP. You should give your consent in form 2 and IRP should have a valid AFR. So I said these things prior to this also and repeating again. Now section 17 we talk about. 16 we have configured, no disciplinary action should be there. Even the show cause notice should not have been issued. If the show cause notice is issued, IRP is disqualified to become a IRP. Now coming back to the next aspects which we need to understand is the management of the affairs of CD by the IRP. Because the day on which he is appointed the IRP, he has to manage the affairs of CD. And you know that the powers of the board of directors are suspended. All the officers and managers are required to report to the IRP and they have to provide all the documents and records of the CD as required by IRP. He has to give an instruction to the bank that now my signature will take place, not the suspended board of directors. So it has to be at the instruction of the IRP. Nowadays, you know that in the even the MCA also, IRP is required to file a form that now the board of directors are suspended and whatever the details of the data are required to be uploaded will be uploaded by the IRP. So the day on which you are appointed as the IRP, your duty starts from that second only. You have to send letters to everyone. You have to give a copy of the order of the NCLT or a education authority to each and every authorities, including banks, including ROC, including income tax authorities or a GST authorities, stating that now you are appointed the IRP and the CRP process started. The most important part of the IRP is this. Now, anything required to be in any deed is, say for example, tomorrow if some list deed is expiring and new list deed is to be given, it has to be done by the IRP on behalf of the corporate debtor. Any receipts or documents to be issued, receipts are to be issued, it has to be in the name of IRP. He has access to the electronic records of the CD. He has full access to the electronic records. He can go and ask for that. Because on the same day, he has to change the password. He has to take the old password, change the password, and start taking care of the entire website, entire books of accounts, and entire ERP or systems which is there that he has to take into account. He has authority to access the books of accounts, records, and other relevant documents. And is also responsible for complying with the requirement of law on behalf. As I said that if any form is to be filed with the Office of Registrar of Companies like this, if he has to file the balance sheet or a profit and loss account, it has to be done in the name of IRP. So this is the most important part. So that is what we have to understand. Now, duties of IRP, most important. He has to collect the information related to assets. See, the day on which you are appointed as IRP, you have to start collecting the information related to assets, finance, and operation of the CD. You ask from the suspended board of directors that please provide me a list of assets and liabilities. Last 2 year audit accounts, whatever the previous 2 years financials or recent date balance sheet you just give. It may take another 3-4 days or 5 days time, but you please ask from the suspended board of directors. Assuming if suspended board of directors does not give, you ask for and create a record stating that we need this, we need this. If they will not be able to provide, you can go to the adjudicating authority on section 19(2), ask that they are not cooperating with me. Non-cooperation application you can file, and the adjudicating authority can pass an order against them. So more importantly for you is to find out that what is the total assets of the company, what is the total finances and operation of the CD, including the name of the banks where the accounts are going on. Because the day on which you become an IRP, you have to send letters to everyone stating that the CRP process started and you are appointed as the IRP. You are supposed to receive and collect all the claims submitted by creditors. I said that receive and collect means you have to take into account all the claims, OC, FC, statutory workmen, etc. and other creditors. All those claims you have to, in a particular form that you have to collect. You have to verify that along with documents, along with the balance sheet of the CD. And then you have to certify that these claims are accepted. You have to constitute a committee of creditors, the most important part, the most crucial part, constitution of committee of creditors. How to constitute? Committee of creditors is normally if the FCs are there, FCs are right. However, any OC having more than 10% debt, total debt, is also entitled to become a member of the committee of creditors. Here, the most important aspects which we need to decide about that, the committee of creditor, if any relative of the CD is there, he cannot be a member of the committee of credit. I mean, he can be a member, but he has no right to vote, he has no right to representation, he has no right to anything. So you have to also look into that whether he is a relative of CD or not, or a suspended board of directors. Then you have to also look into that if there are no FC, you have to take into account only AC. I'm not talking right now the real estate, because the real estate development or a PIRP, we are talking about the CRP only, except those. You have to monitor as the RP, you have to monitor IRP, you have to monitor the assets of the city and manage its operation. Means the show must go on. The ultimate situation is the show must go on. You cannot stop the production. You have to go on continuing production. Whatever the orders that you would start even doing needful for the orders, start taking the material from the various creditors, start making the payment to them also for the current dues, not the dues prior to the CRP. I repeat, not the dues prior to the CRP. You have to take control and custody of assets. You cannot say that custody will remain with the suspended board of directors. You should be there as well. You have to also file information with the information utility. You have to decide about that. What is the ownership with the companies, whether it is leasehold assets or freehold assets, everything you have to decide about it. You have to decide about the claims whether it is rejected or it can be admitted with notional amount of ₹1 in case of dispute. If disputed amount is there, you should just only take only ₹1. If dispute resolves and the final amount determined, then you take into account the final amount. Otherwise, till that time, ₹1 is the amount. Notional amount, which means that in case of dispute, there is a case is going on, or it's a contingent liability, then you can accept that with the ₹1. Delays claims cannot be admitted, only admitted with the permission of the AA. Understand this point very carefully. You have to say that 90 days completed. Now I cannot accept any claim. If you want to give and if the court orders, then only I will give. Till that time, you cannot. And the aggrieved creditor, as I said, that they can go to the AA and decide about the claim value. And if they feel like that the claim is not accepted because of the mistakes of the IRP, and he has the right to do that, then he can agitate before the adjudicating authority. And if the adjudicating authority directs him that this is the amount, then it is amount that is required to be taken into account by the IRP. So IRP's duty is to verify the claim, determine the amount, but not to give the final verdict. Final verdict may be of the AA. Understand this point. This is the difference between the liquidator and the IRP. Liquidator has right to determine the money and decide the money. IRP cannot decide the amount of the claim. Ultimately, if the person is agitating, we can go to AA to decide about the money. Only determine the money. Like we know that section 43, 45, 50 and 66, wherein POF transactions are there. Preferentials, undervalued, extraneous, or we can say that the fraudulent transaction, where the IRP or RP has to only determine that what is the amount, but ultimate final order will be given by the adjudicating authority. Similarly, here claims are to be determined by the IRP and ultimately finalized. If any agitation is there, it is to be finalized by the AA. He cannot say that this is the amount which I will do. Now coming to the section 19, as I said, that in non-cooperation, everyone has to give a cooperation, like the suspended board of directors, their managers, their manager personnel, or any other person which are duty bound to give cooperation to RP. In case of a non-cooperation, an application of section 19(2) can be filed before AA for necessary direction. AA are giving a clear-cut instruction. Even they are giving instruction at a point of time. I've seen that they're giving the instruction for the arrest of the person to the local police to bring him and give a proper cooperation to them, because ultimately IRP or RP is an officer of the court and he should be given a proper cooperation. This is the basic philosophy behind the entire act. So if you are a officer of the court, all these people, all the manager people will have to give you the proper cooperation. And if the cooperation is not given, you have a right to file an application on section 19(2). Now what happens? The day on which 19(2) files, that they will come. But say, for example, you were IRP and then you ceases to be IRP, then the application is already filed, then RP will take up that application. So in that way, RP, if they are giving cooperation, doesn't make a difference, then he will say that I am withdrawing the application. If they are not giving further, then again that application will go. Now RP, say for example, that application is still not decided, and ultimately the company went to liquidation. What happens at that point of time? So in that event, the liquidator will have to file a fresh application for non-cooperation. Original application was filed by RP. Till that time, say for example, CRP takes place, the RP's application remains there, and no decision took place. Then that application is, once the company is ordered for liquidation, then that application will also be nullified. Then the liquidator will come and he will file an application of section 19(2) for a cooperation. So this is the most important, that every person will have to give a proper cooperation to IRP or RP during the course of the CRP process. Now, as I said, that management operations of CD has to be as a going concern. You cannot say that I am closing the operation tomorrow and whatever the money that is lying in the bank account, that will remain with me, and I will start making the payment to myself, my team, and other persons, but I will not do operation. That's not the policy. You have to continue the operation accordingly. However, you may not make the payment of the old dues the day on which you appointed. But for the continuous dues, you are supposed to make the payment. You are supposed to see to it that the operation should go on. So show must go on. That is the most important part. That you have to always make efforts to continue it as a going concern. Again, your duty bound to protect and preserve the assets of the CD. You cannot say that, sir, I was not aware where these assets. You take the complete control of the asset on the very first day when you are IRP. Once you become IRP to RP, that asset will remain with you. If you are not RP, you give the control to the new RP. However, you have no right that I was not aware about this or I had this problem or that problem is not acceptable. So if you are RP, you have to see to it that you to protect and preserve the assets of the city. You have right to appoint accountants, right to appoint the legal persons in case of requirement on behalf of the city. And you can modify their contracts, amend the contracts in the best interest of the city. Again, here you have to be very careful that your interest cannot take place. It has to be a city's interest which is to be taken care of. I repeat and reiterate. And you have a right to raise interim finance subject to the COC decides to give the instruction to the personnel of the CD or to keep the CD as a going concern to take necessary steps. Wherever or whatever required, you are supposed to take into account and you have to go on working in that eventuality. Now, section 21 talks about the formation of the COC. You have to decide once as IRP, you have to collect the claims and determine the position of the CD and constitute a committee of creditors. As I told you very clearly, if the OC has a more than 10% amount due to him, he can be represented by the OC. One is OC's member or can be there, others can be the financial creditor. In case if there is no FC, then only OC will form the committee of creditors. Now, this, in case of this, any related party of the CD is there, he has no right of representation or voting rights. This is the most important part which we have to be very clear. So, if CD's wife has given some money on a loan, that money will be taken into account for the claim, but then it is the financial creditor but will not have a right to participate or voting in the COC. This is most important. Again, in case of a consortium finance are common for the companies, then everyone has a representative, but subject to the voting rights has to be as a percentage. Say, for example, A, B, C, D, 4 CDs are there. A has a 10 crore, B has a 5 crore, C has a 5 crore, and D has a 5 crore. So, A's share is 10 upon 25, B's share is 5 upon 25. So, like that, it will be determined, and accordingly, voting rights will be given to the C. Again, when you are appointed as an RP, then you are supposed to, once the COC is decided, let me tell you that, once the claims are decided, you are deciding that these are the FCs, or this is the OCs, can be also one of the members of the COC, then you have to call within 7 days from the date, that date you are supposed to call a constitution. Once you are decided the constitution of committee of creditors, within 7 days you have to call the first meeting. You cannot keep it like, okay, fine, these are COC members, but I will call meeting after 15 days, 20 days. That's not possible. Within 7 days from the date of constitution of COC, you have to call the first meeting of the COC. That's the first thing. Again, in the first meeting, you decide that whether the same IRP become IRP or not. If the 66% or more COC members decide in your favor, you become a IRP to RP, or else you are replaced by the new RP. Once you are replaced by the new RP, then you have to, that new RP will have to give a consent in the prescribed format. And then IRP will have to file an application before the AA. From the date of order, that the new RP is required to be appointed as per the minutes. You will just file the minutes of the COC meeting. And accordingly, you have to also give that he is qualified, his AFA is valid or whatever is required, that you have to submit that details data and make an application before the insolvency, before the executing authority under the IBC and appoint the new RP. Correct? Till the time the final order from this, the executing authority takes place, you have to work as an IRP. You cannot say that, okay, fine, now I have filed the application, I am ceased to be IRP and therefore I will not know. Till the last day, say for example, it may take another 30 days, 40 days to give an order. Till that time, you are IRP and you are entitled for the remuneration as decided. So you get a remuneration, but you do work as that. You cannot say the work as per the act only. Everything you have to take care of it. Now, when we say that this RP shall, now once RP is appointed, Section 23 comes in the picture. He shall conduct the CRP until the approval of resolution plan by AA or until the liquidation order takes place. He is supposed to exercise powers and duties vested to IRP under this chapter, and IRP shall provide all the helps and details to the RP. Entire cooperation. You cannot say that, okay, fine, now you've decided the new things. That is not possible. You have to hand over everything as IRP to the new RP. You have to give complete cooperation. Otherwise, he can file non-cooperation application against you, and disciplinary action against you. So you have to be very careful that once you cease to be IRP, the new RP, whosoever come, you have to give complete, and you have to also take a letter from him stating that fine, my duties are complete. I have handed over all the charge. Nothing remains. So please take up. If you require something, you can contact me. These are the things which are you have to be practical in that, because and you also take his counter signature. Otherwise, what happens? Tomorrow he may go against you. So at that point of time, you have to be very careful and clear that nobody should go against you as IRP. You have to give complete, hand over all the charge, all the documents, all the password, electronic platform, everything you hand over to him. Give him, take in writing everything from him that he has received everything. Now nothing is pending. Yet anything is pending, he is there to help him if required. So your duty as IRP, you have done completely and you are out from that. If your money is not given by the COC or by the new RP, then you can go against him to the AA. And then you have a right to claim the money from him. But if you are not given a cooperation, then your right as a question mark. You will get the money, but then also with a very high cost. So you have to decide about that. You have to give complete cooperation to the RP also. Now coming to the COC meeting. First meeting is required to be called within 7 days from the date of the COC formation. And there you have to call the meeting of the COC, wherein you being a chairman of the COC meeting, including you have to call all the financial creditors, members of the suspended board of directors, OC if it is more than 10% of the representative, they are the members of the COC. Now, as I told that the fees to be clarified in that particular or ratified in that particular first meeting, your as IP COC may also appoint another IP or some FC will be appointing somebody who is a qualified insolvency professional as their representative. Then the fees of that representative will be paid by the said FC and not by the COC or not by the CD. Now, you have to decide that COC's members, you have to decide about the voting share as per their financial dates. Now, you are also supposed to give a notice to the COC that the first meeting shall be there. It has to give a 5 clear days notice. Understand this point. Minimum 5 days, 5-day clear days notice. In the first meeting, they decide that next time you can give 24 hours or 48 hours notice, then it is okay. But in the first meeting, you should give at least 5 clear days notice. Number 1. Service of notice may be by electronic mode. But when you are giving the electronic mode, the notice has to be a non-editable format, I mean PDF file or whatever the file that you give. You have to be very careful in this case. These are the aspects which IP has to take care of. Because if you are giving the notice which can be editable by him, he can change the agenda and say that this is my agenda. Your notice when you give through a electronic mode, you should have a link or instruction for recipient for downloading the relevant version of this software. So you have to give a complete link and detail that this is the notice given in this much format. This is the instructions for the opening of this format, and these are the password for protection. These are the required things for you. And whenever you are giving a notice by electronic form, the system should produce confirmation of email and proof of sending, because you have to keep that proof with you. You as an IP or IRP or RP should keep a proof. So your electronic platform should be such that it will generate that yes, the other person has been delivered. Whether he has seen or not is a separate matter. The notice has been delivered on so and so date, so and so time. That is the most important part you should have. Otherwise, what happens? Somebody will question that this mail I have not received. Then you can say this is a confirmation of mail. So that's an important as an IRP or RP. So these are the aspects which we need to be very careful as an IP. Then when we say about the contents of notice, as you know very well, that the list of matters to be discussed, issues to be voted, because discussion and voting are different matters. There are certain voted only, not all are to be voted, might be 2 or 3 or 5 items to be voted, right? Like IRP to RP voting is required. But it is not required. Let's say, for example, last minutes we already taken into account and all for voting is not required. Then copies of all the documents relevant to the matters discussed and issues to be voted. That all the relevant documents you are supposed to submit. That okay, I am qualified to be a IRP to RP. This is the AFA is valid. This that, or somebody says that Mr. A will be replaced by you, so then he has to also submit the details, and that will be a part of your agenda. You have to also give the process and the manner for voting the time schedule. That okay, fine. This is to be voted for a 36 hours or 48 hours from the date of completion or conclusion of meeting. This is the manner in which the voting will take place. All those things you are supposed to get. Login ID, the details of facility of generating password. How to generate password for keeping security in casting vote in a secure manner. Most important part, login ID. You have to say this is a login ID. Now you can generate your password, keep with you. Do not pass with me. So ultimately, these are things which you are supposed to do. Contact details of the person in case of difficulty. If you have difficulty, you can contact Mr. So-and-so from my team who can work out the solution. Now, quorum of the meeting, regulation 22 of the CRP regulation, wherein it is very clearly mentioned that 33% of voting rights in person or by proxy, minimum 33%. This is a quorum. So if 33% are not present of the COC members, if there are, say, for example, 6 COC members, then 1/3, that's 2 should be present. If 2 are not present, the meeting was postponed. Meeting cannot take place. It is adjourned on the next day at the same time, same venue. You are supposed to take the roll call. RP has to take the roll call. The most important part, you take the roll call, you take the name of the person, his authorities, on whose behalf he is coming. All those things are required. So that tomorrow, if it is a persons are in present, you can take the signature. If they are not in present, you completely video recording everything. You tell that Mr. A from ABC company, financial creditor of so-and-so CD, having this much percentage of voting right as per the date that I have given, and I am alone from my office, I am saying this. All those things are required to be stated by him, and then only you can maintain. I have a proper authority, and I will submit the authority in due course of time. So all those things you can record, you can keep it with us, and you are required to circulate your minutes within 48 hours from the conclusion of the meeting. You cannot take more than 48 hours for conclusion. Maybe the voting right may be open for that, but you have to give the minutes within 48 hours. Now, procedure of voting by committee and agenda to be decided. So you know that the voting should be 66% voting share of COC. There, regulation 25 is very clear that RP cannot raise interim finance without the COC consent. So 66% says then only he can raise, otherwise he cannot raise interim finance. He can create security interest only with the COC's permission. He can change the capital structure only with the COC's permission. He can record any change in the ownership interest only with the COC permission. He cannot do of his own. These are the restrictions to him. He cannot undertake any related party transaction. He cannot instruct the bank or advise for debit transaction. Credit transaction he can do, but debit transaction he has to do with the COC permission. He cannot delegate his authority to other person. He cannot dispose of shares of any shareholder of his own. He cannot make any change in the management. He cannot transfer rights or debts in the ordinary course of business. So find that this company is supposed to take 2 crore rupees from a ABC company. Now I'm transferring this. He cannot do that. Or he cannot make any changes in the statutory auditors or internal auditors without the COC's permission. So these are the aspects which he's supposed to take care of it with the COC's permission, otherwise he cannot do. Now, what are the duties of RP? I will slightly quicker in telling because you know better the duties and all, but quicker because time does not permit. I will give you 5 minutes also thereafter. He has to take the immediate custody and control of all assets of the CD. As I tell you, he can represent with third parties, exercise his right on behalf of CD in judicial, quasi-judicial, and he can say that CRP is going on. He can raise interim financial subject to the COC's approval, appoint accountant or legal or other professionals. Their COC approval is not required because wherever he requires anybody's help, he can definitely ask for. He can convene and attend all the meetings of COC, prepare IF in accordance with section 29, invite prospective resolution applicants to fulfill necessary criteria to submit resolution plan. He can also present all resolution plans at the meeting of the COC, file application for avoidance transaction, POF transaction, as I said, and any other action that is required to be taken care of. So these are the duties of RP. That is supposed to, duties and rights, what both are taken care of here in this case, partly rights, partly duties. Even when he can decide about the evolution matrix, as you know very well, evolution matrix with the approval of the COC. He can invite that, he can decide that this much is the net worth minimum criteria. He can decide about this was the minimum, this, all those things with the COC he can decide about it. Invite UI in Form G, Regulation 36A says. Form G to be published in one English and again one vernacular newspaper with a wide circulation. Website of CD, IBBI website, and any other matter decided by the committee. Now, when we talk about EOI date, it should not be less than 15 days from the date of issue of detailed invitation. So today, if you decide, minimum 15 days time should be given. Minimum, it should not be prior to 3rd of January, 18th December to 3rd January, minimum should be taken care of. 15 days minimum, or after 3rd January, any date you agree. He can file PUEF transactions. That is the preferentials, undervalued, extraneous, or fraudulent transactions application. He can appoint valuers within 7 days from his appointment, but not later than 75th day from the CIR. Most important part. Timelines are required to be adhered to by each and every RP. If you are failing any timeline, you are subject to the IBBI's conduct of inquiry. Valuer, he should not be the relative of RP or CD, auditor of the company, or partner or director of the company in last 5 years. He has a right to take the assistance from the local district administration as per Regulation 30. Means he can call the police and take the their shelter to take the position of the CD. And he gets unencumbered assets and can sell it subject to not more than 10% of the total claims admitted. So, say for example, total claims admitted are 100 crores and unencumbered assets are 7 crores, he can sell it and get the money. But if it is 12 crores, he cannot do that. It is more than 10%. So, he cannot do that. So, this is what we have to understand. He can do maximum up to 10 crores or less than 10 crores. Now, when we say section 26, so here PUEF transaction, this is for avoidance in transactions, and you have to file before the CIRP, before the educating authority. However, the most important part the IP has to do or RP has to do is that you determine only the transaction auditor gives you the report. On the basis of that, you cannot do it. You are supposed to decide from your own end that these are my conclusion, and then you can file the application. You cannot file the application directly. You have to file you have to determine by yourself, and then only you can file the application. Otherwise, that application can be rejected. The other person can take objective only on the basis of transaction auditor, somebody or as file an application which can be rejected by the AA, because you will apply your mind whether this is a fraudulent transaction, this is a preferential transaction, this is extraneous transaction, or this is undervalued transaction, and then determine the value He has given that 10 crore is undervalued, but 10 crore out of this, you decide that 3 crore or 2 crore or all 10 crores on my, this is. So you have to mention that in your application very clearly. That's the most important part. Now, when we say that IRP section 27 talks about the replacement of the IRP to the RP, I have already covered prior to that. And you are supposed to prepare an information memorandum. Now, what the information memo contents of the information regulation 36 of IBBI CRP regulation 2016 talks about. I'll quickly glance at this. You are supposed to see information memorandum. The requirement of information memorandum is basically for the purpose of the prospective resolution applicant should know that what are the contents and can he give the bid for so how many assets and what amount that he can give. That is an important aspect for that. So unless he has a complete idea about the company, he cannot give the details about the, he cannot give the UI or he cannot submit his resolution plan. So for the purpose of submitting the resolution plan, information memorandum is the most important aspects. So when you are issuing the information memorandum, you have to take into account the assets and liabilities of the company, including the contingent liabilities, as well as the complete description as on the commencement of the insolvency. CRP date commencement, everything that these were the assets, these were the liabilities, these are contingent liability. In the particular for the assets, you have to give these particular assets of 2019 makes, 2002 makes. So one can understand that these are old assets, we are not to take into account anything. So these are the things which you are supposed, the remaining useful life is 10 years, 5 years, 7 years, all these things you are supposed to give. You have to give identification number, you have to decide about that, what is the depreciation charge, what is the today's book value. You have to just give the completely where the assets are lying. In Ahmedabad, it is Delhi or Mumbai or anywhere else, you're supposed to give, as well as you have to also give the latest annual financial statements. Now you are supposed to give contingent liabilities as per the dated 16/9/2022 circular. You are supposed to give the contingent liability details also and latest financial statements also. Then you have to give the last 2 years audited finance statement, provision statement up to the date of the application, not before 14 days of the CRP, list of creditors containing name and amount of claim admitted in a security interest, date dues to and from related parties, whatever is there, guarantees given by the CD to any other person. So all those things are required to be a part of your IM. Then wherever that is the CD is a partner or a shareholder of any other company having more than 1% stake, you are supposed to give the details of that. Any litigations going on, investigation proceedings going on, number of workers and liabilities of corporate debtors towards them. Most important, with how much is going to be gratuity, how much going to be the PF, all those things are required to be a part of that. And you are supposed to give the complete overview of the company, business performance, snapshot, key contracts, key investment highlights, all other factors that if it is a going concern, what is the situation? What is the brought forward losses as per the latest income tax return, input credit of GST, key employees, key customers, supply chain linkage, utility connections, and other pre-existing things. So these are supposed to be given along with the IM. If you give this IM, it will give a clear clarity to the prospective resolution applicant that whether I should go for application or not. You are also supposed to give the details about that business evolution, how it has come up, how the industry overview, key growth drivers in case of corporate data. And in case if the book value is exceeding 100 crores, as per the latest financial, you are supposed to submit all those details in the IM. You please take into account. If you do not take into account, the prospective resolution application cannot. And whatever the new details that you can fill like that. So as a RP, whatever you feel like that, relevant to the and along with the discussion with the committee, whatever that you feel like, you can give the industry overview that this industry is growing at 10% CAGR or 5% CAGR, is having a so and so kind of a situation in the, so that for the new person who is going to take a decision to go for a UI, he will take a decision accordingly. IM is to be shared with to whom? All the prospective resolution applicants to submit UI. And you are agreeing to the most important part, they should agree to abide by the relevant rules. And to members of the committee of creditors, which meaning thereby we to also share this to the suspended board of directors. You are supposed to give it to them also, committee of creditors. So my role as far as today's meeting is concerned, from filing of application till issuance of information memorandum, this was the journey which I was trying to just explain. And therefore, I just stated up to this extent, I kept it because of the fact that anything which is up to from filing of application to the IM journey that I have explained you in nutshell to give a clarity on that what is going on in the present situation, how the cases that have taken place in the recent NCLT to the NCLT to the Supreme Court, all those things I have tried to summarize. If you have any questions, you are right to ask the questions, and then we will sum up this meeting. If anybody has the questions, they have a right to ask the question, or you can send the questions through the chat box. I'll just reply through the email also. Any questions to anybody? You have a right to ask the questions. Or let us call this meeting as a today's meeting may be closed, and tomorrow the new person will come and will join with you for the further journey. So I thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Sir, I had asked one question in the chat box regarding you said when the case is admitted and if there is a debtor is doing any issue a checks to the any party, it has to be bring it back to the company and all.
Okay. Can you just repeat it again? Your check is given, right?
Suppose corporate debtor has issued a check.
Yes.
Any payment made and the case is admitted within some particular period, the amount has to be bring it back to the company.
Yes.
So, but in one case, suppose the check was issued before the case was admitted in the court, NCLT, and check validity is almost always at 3 months.
Okay.
And the check was debited from the bank account after the case is being admitted. Then what happens in that situation?
So there are two things which you see. Basically, here also, let me mention very clearly. What happens? The person can backdate a check and issue the check. And therefore, the education authority will say that it has come up for the purpose of debiting on the day after the admission, that money should go back to the corporate debtor and not to the creditor. That situation will take place.
Okay. So the onus is on the creditors to prove it that it was given.
Yes, sir. And it was by mistake, it was not credited to my account on that day, and thereafter I credited, or I had already submitted for the credit in my account on X date, which is prior to the date of this, but it was credited on the same day on which the order was pronounced. If that is the situation, he may be given a benefit of doubt. Otherwise, the court will not give the benefit of doubt to him.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So people are doing the backdating checks.
Yeah, that is the loophole where people will try to use it.
Here, the one question is I'm just finding out from C.A. Vinay Kumar Singhal, from Tejas Patel. What is the position of the IM? Is such as court cases involving significant liabilities available, but IRP does not include the IM, then IRP is directly liable for that. He may be having a stringent actions against that because he is supposed to bring that in the IM.
Sir, you have mentioned that regulators' fees will not be covered under operational credit or financial credit.
Correct, sir.
So where it will come then?
Other creditors.
Okay.
Like advances given is neither an operational nor a financial.
Okay. And secondly, if interim finance is required for liquidator, in that case, there is no committee or anything. So how interim finance you can apply?
If the interim finance can be applied only with the consent of the COC. If the COC is not formed, you cannot apply till that time.
No, no, I'm asking in case of liquidation.
In case of
Liquidator.
liquidation, see, then stakeholder committee will take care of it.
Okay, so that meeting has to be called on.
Correct, sir.
Sir, in case assets are not known, what are the assets of the corporate debtor, then in that case also valuers have to be appointed? Or you have to wait for the 19(2) application and let the asset details come and then you appoint the valuers?
Sir, that is the most, because a valuer, once you appoint valuer, he needs other details from you. If you do not have details of the assets, you cannot provide to the valuer, and therefore value cannot value. So in that eventuality, first of all, go to the AA, ask for 19(2), ask for the cooperation and request the promoters to give. If they cannot give, and if you can identify certain assets which are in the name of the company or somewhere from that, then only you can go for valuation. Otherwise, till that time you cannot go for valuation.
Then the 75 days timeline gets breached.
So then, once you have filed an application before the AA, you can ask for the extension for that.
Okay.
The other persons, whatever the questions are that I will deal with separately. Meanwhile, I thank you very much to one and all for patiently hearing. Thank you to the ICSI for giving me an opportunity. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
very much, sir. Your session was very excellent and wonderful. And we got very good knowledge from your part.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And all the participants, this is to inform that tomorrow's session has been postponed to 27th of December.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Sorry,
you, sir, for your suggestion.
27th, you said, ma'am?
Tomorrow's session has been postponed to 27th December.
Okay. And day after session, tomorrow's session is
Yes,
online,
we have
right?
next session on 20th of December.
Sorry?
All the sessions are same. On 20th, we have session now.
So it will start again on 27th, right? From tomorrow, instead of tomorrow.
Instead of tomorrow, the session will be on 27th.
Yeah.
But we have 20th session as it is.
Okay, fine.
Only for
Only tomorrow's session has been postponed.
Okay, okay.
All
So
other
it's
days
only
session will be same.
it's only for tomorrow. It is postponed.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
For
Thank you.
20 to 22nd session will be there.
Okay, thank you.
We'll take this presentation on our mail.